We get some makeup or breakup emails here. Are these people that need to be ending their relationship or not? Now, this is something that has got this girl a little bit spun because apparently she speaks in tongues, or her boyfriend does, when he gets mad or frustrated. Now, half the time, his girlfriend, she's thinking he's just making it up and he's just talking gibberish. So, Jaybird, you apparently know of this person who is going through this right now.
They don't understand what's happening because it didn't start in the beginning. But when something goes wrong, they start to speak in tongues. And when they ask them about it, they go, just the way I am.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess my whole thing is speaking in tongues. Is that a legit thing, or do you just make up things when you're speaking in tongues?
Nobody necessarily knows.
I think you're making it up.
You are.
So I had some super religious neighbors growing up, and they used to, when they were saying a prayer, like a bedtime prayer, like go into this whole speaking in tongues thing, and it sounded like, the part of Supersonic that goes shamalama dumalama dumalama shamalama dumalama. Yeah. I think you make it up as you go.
Because I was at the church, I don't know if you still go to it. It was Christ Fellowship, and we're talking the beginning stages of it back in the mid-'90s. And they were doing a sermon, and this guy stood up and interrupted the sermon and started to go through this whole violent, uncomfortable interruption of speaking in tongues and I swear and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, but none of it made sense, and it made everybody feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. It sounds a little bit like this. If you've never heard somebody doing the speaking in tongues, this is Paula White, kind of a televangelist that does this frequently.
Mahanda rabosoko, mahanda akasata, reke yamanda raboko sokota, ronda yakande eke seke la mama manda rabakase.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point,
Shamalama dumalama dumalama shamalama
dumalama. Mama say something like a Michael Jackson song, doesn't it?
dumalama.
Is he singing in tongues? Mama say mama kusa. Yeah.
We could beat mix that.
so is it, but I guess what I'm asking is, in a respectful way, is there a way people speak in tongues that makes sense, or is it always nonsense?
Well, some people that do it, I guess if it's got any kind of credibility, is a lot of times it is. It's a mystical, supposedly, divine language. And if you have somebody that can translate it and understands it, then you're like, okay, especially if they're saying something odd and that person actually does that. That's exactly what I'd said. But that doesn't happen very often. It's typically somebody that has a microphone and they're just kind of, talking like this.
So if you're at the dinner table and you go, hey, baby, do you want any ketchup? No, we're out of ketchup. You get, at that point, they're just being insane?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, most likely. Everybody's gonna have their own feelings about it. It's not something that's standard in regular Christian churches, Pentecostals and people like that, different sects of it. They more believe in it, and there are even some people in the Christian faith that are like, I don't know about speaking in tongues. That may not actually be from God.
But just because someone's articulate in their way of speaking in tongues, let's say they speak in tongues and they kind of flip it and it sounds kind of cool, that doesn't mean it's necessarily real.
No,
it just sounds cool.
Yeah, they're likely most chances are just talking gibberish.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess that's his coping mechanism. Whenever he gets frustrated, he starts with just rattling off gibberish.
What do you do if all of a sudden the queen, your wife, adopts this kind of personality trait, and it not only leaves it leaves the house? You go out to Cannon's football game.
Yeah.
Interception. She starts speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
What do?
Walk away.
That's when you go to the bar.
Yeah. Like, peace.
This is my life now? Okay, I got to get a little buzz.
And believe me, when you can go to the bar and drink a little too much, you can't speak in tongues.
Oh, I know, yeah. Yeah, and it depends upon where you are. To me, this would knock somebody down. If you were 8 or a 9, you're losing probably a good 3 to 4 points.
But what if you walk in and all of a sudden your husband Panda just says, "Babe, I just speak in tongues now. Deal with it." What do you do?
Well, how devout is this person? Are they very religious? Because, I mean, if you have the speaking in tongues and they're not spending a lot of time, supposedly, then I'm like, okay, then you're definitely just speaking gibberish.
It was a lengthy story, and
Okay.
the person speaking in tongues claim it is their religious background. So they feel secure enough to say, I'm protected by my religious background.
Okay. I'd prefer they do it when we be in church. You know,
Not at
but-
dinner?
Yeah,
Or-
not at dinner
or game
at
night?
the ballpark. Yeah, if they're yelling at the umpire.
You're playing Uno?
Yeah, you're playing a game of Uno with all your friends, and all of a sudden they just start.
Yalamana no sakayatoya kande.
Well, I'd be like, they're like, what did they just say?
So, game night's not here next weekend, right?
Yeah.
Back away slowly.
Yeah. That would be a rough one.
I would love it. They're invited to every one of my game nights.
What about this? Do you think this is a makeup or a breakup? It says, I'm engaged to a guy who's been nothing but loving until last weekend. We went to a wedding expo, and at one booth with psychic readings, the woman looked at him and then gasped and said, "You've been married before, and she's still with you. I see her right there." Well, he got super weird, refused to talk about it, and then he left early. And since then, he's been distant and cagey. I did a little digging, and I found out that his ex-wife actually died 2 years ago in their house, and he never told me he was even married.
Whoa.
Now I'm wondering if he's hiding more than just a ghost. Should I call off the wedding?
If you are getting ready to marry a guy
Yep.
and you don't know that his wife died, this is a huge red flag, girl.
You call off the wedding. You do not know them well enough to get married.
No.
Yeah, I don't know that I would dump them immediately, but I'd be like, all right, we have a lot more of your life that we need to unpack.
This happens on Dateline all the time. When they murder their spouse, they don't tell the new person they got with.
Convenient.
They don't even say that they were married before, much less that the spouse passed away unexpectedly at the bottom of the stairs.
She was dating a nice guy named Harold. He was very, very kind. Very, very, very sweet. But was he?
Pretty good Keith Morrison.
I've been working on it.
Okay.
This is how we do. It's the KVJ Show.